So let's talk about a game that really shouldn't exist. We're talking about a title that came out years too late for hardware everyone thought was basically a dinosaur, and yet, it somehow became one of the absolute best games of its generation. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of Kirby's Adventure. Honestly, the story behind this game is just fascinating. It's this perfect storm of creative genius, of technical wizardry, and, get this, a hidden complexity so deep it would take scientists literally decades to figure it out. So, how did this little pink puffball manage to pull it all off? Okay, first you gotta understand the timing here. By 1993, the 8-bit NES was ancient history. The super powerful 16-bit Super Nintendo was the new king, and pretty much every developer had jumped ship. But HAL Laboratory, against all odds, decided to give the old console one last glorious hurrah. And wow, what a masterpiece it was. I mean, just 1 year before, Kirby had made his debut on the little black and white Game Boy. The jump to the NES wasn't just slapping on some color, it was a total reimagining. The whole thing was bigger, way more detailed, and built from the ground up for a serious sit down on the couch and play experience. But, making this sequel happen wasn't exactly a walk in the park. To turn Kirby's Adventure into the hit it became, the team at HAL Laboratory first had to solve a couple of major problems. So, the first big issue was what you could call the simplicity problem. Look, the first Game Boy game was great, but it was designed to be super easy for anyone to pick up and play. And because of that, a lot of hardcore gamers thought it was just too short and way too simple. For a full-priced home console game, that just wasn't going to cut it. The second problem, though, this one was even more basic. As the team went from a black and white handheld to a full-color console, they ran into a question that sounds silly now but was a huge deal then. What color is Kirby? And I'm not kidding, this was a real debate. The legendary producer Shigeru Miyamoto just assumed Kirby was yellow, but the game's creator, Masahiro Sakurai, had always pictured him as pink. Apparently, when the final, now iconic pink design was revealed, some of the staff were genuinely shocked. So how did they crack that gameplay problem? Well, this quote from Masahiro Sakurai basically lays it all out for us. The solution wasn't to just make the game harder, no, it was to make it deeper. And that idea led to one of the most iconic mechanics in all of video games. The team's solution was an absolute stroke of genius, and it would end up defining the entire Kirby series forever. It was a complete revolution, and it all came down to one brilliant idea: the copy ability. The concept was just perfect. Kirby could inhale certain enemies, right? But instead of just spitting them back out, he could swallow them and boom, he'd steal their powers. All of a sudden, this one little character had dozens of different ways to play. And the best part was how easy it was to do. It was this super simple 3-step process. You inhale, you swallow, and you're ready to go. A total beginner could get it in seconds, but it gave hardcore players this huge sandbox of powers to experiment with. And the variety was just staggering. The team actually brainstormed over 40 different powers before they narrowed it down to the final 24 that made it into the game. Just like that, this one mechanic completely solved the simplicity problem and gave the game endless replay value. So, solving the design problems was one thing, but what HAL Laboratory pulled off on a technical level, well, that was just as revolutionary. They were basically squeezing a 16-bit Super Nintendo-style experience out of old 8-bit hardware. Seriously, this game was a technical marvel. The visuals were so bright and creative, and they used advanced tricks like parallax scrolling to give the world a sense of depth you just didn't see on the NES. Oh, and it had an autosave feature. In 1993, on an NES cartridge, that was practically science fiction. And of course, it was a massive hit. It sold almost 2 million copies, which is insane for a console that was supposedly on its way out. It was all the proof anyone needed that amazing game design could always win out over aging tech. So, Kirby's Adventure didn't just sell well, it wrote the rulebook for the entire series to come. But its true legacy, well, it goes way deeper than that, into a place that nobody in 1993 could have possibly imagined. I mean, the design was so perfect that when Nintendo remade the game for the Game Boy Advance almost a decade later, they barely changed the gameplay at all. That just goes to show you how well crafted that original experience really was. But the story doesn't stop there. For 30 years, we all thought we understood Kirby's Adventure. We were wrong. Its deepest secret, a truly mind-bending layer of complexity, was hiding in plain sight the entire time. Okay, to get this next part, we gotta do a quick, tiny dive into computer science. There's a class of problems known as PSPC complete. The simple way to think about them is as the ultimate, hardest logic puzzles in the universe. They're so complex that even our most powerful supercomputers struggle to find a guaranteed efficient solution. They're basically at the edge of what we know how to compute. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. In 2023, a full 30 years after the game came out, researchers proved that planning out how to solve puzzles in Kirby's Adventure using its enemies, its switches, and all those copy abilities is in fact a P-space complete problem. And this isn't just some weird one-off fluke. The research paper itself suggests that pretty much the entire Kirby series, which is built on the foundation of this game's mechanics, might share this incredible hidden depth. And that leaves us with one last mind-blowing question. How is it possible that a game, intentionally designed from day one to be simple, accessible, and fun for literally anyone, is also secretly one of the most computationally complex problems known to science? That incredible paradox? That's the true legacy of Kirby's Adventure.